build and grow their practices. And today's topic about documentation. It's a good imposter syndrome trigger for me. I really hated documentation, and I still think that there's a lot of room for it to change. In terms of best practices, in terms of why we do it, I was raised in that whole kind of county life and psychiatric hospital where documentation was required in order for a third party to cover the treatment. And there was a sense of you had to know how to play the game. Have you ever had that where it's like you have to know how to speak the code to get the approval? And so then documentation was no longer really about what's going to be helpful for me as a clinician and what's going to be helpful for this client and what's really important here. And then I moved into the county where I had tons of paperwork there, doing Medi-Cal and Medicaid utilization reviews. Tamika, yes, you hated it. Yes. And it was interesting. Someone posted on a post about our upcoming training about, is this an anti-oppressive writing training? And while it's not really just about writing that we have coming up, it's looking at tools and processes and ways to get your notes done, since people struggle with that. But there is a vein of oppression in the practices of documentation. I've seen it from people being hospitalized and put on extended holds to getting approved for disability benefits and things like that. So how do we take this system that maybe no longer fits us, nor is something we really want to participate in, yet our clients are there and that's how they access mental health benefits? And how do we make this process something that's good for them and helpful for them and also doesn't become a burden for us? And so when I was doing notes, one of the things that might be helpful if I put this on. One of the things that came up for me was I was trained to hardly put anything in your notes because that reduced your liability. But the reality is it probably increased my liability. And I also grew up in some more like psychodynamic analytic training. Maple's saying hi, as always. And notes were often free form, just kind of writing while the client is talking, never to really be used again. So this is why we're bringing in an expert to talk about documentation, because I do think it's an opportunity for us to change some things systemically. If you're going to involve a third party, then you're involving a system which wants to dictate to you how you should be doing your notes. Not saying that that's a great thing. However, some of you are able to take insurance for the benefit of your client, and you're trying to do things in a way that will still allow them to engage in the care that they need. And so I really feel that we can do notes in a way that benefit the therapeutic relationship. Some of that, for example, is collaborative note-taking, where you, at the end of the session, are asking the client their feedback on how the session went, which is great for outcomes tracking, but also for you to understand the benefit for the client and document that down, and that can be your note. I think the other reason why I hated note-taking is just making the time for it. I was a therapist who admittedly stacked a lot of my clients back to back. And so what little time I had between sessions, I used for going to the bathroom, drinking some water, scarfing down a granola bar. And so things would pile up. Again, if you don't see the benefit, if it's not benefiting the client, it's hard to stay motivated. So I think changing the motivation can help. Changing the process can help, changing the tools, having some note formats that help you just get through quickly what's required in order for you to get the reimbursement, but also so that if the client needed their notes, that it would be helpful to them. Have we ever thought about that? I mean, we talk about when an attorney contacts us to ask for notes, and then we freak out about, oh, what if the client saw this? What if we wrote as if the client always will see it? Would it change the way we talk about our clients? I think it would. And that's something we want to really kind of stress and hold of importance when we are working with our clients. And if we don't feel comfortable, what could be happening is also we're feeling burnt out, and we don't want our clients to know that. And so it can come out in our documentation, things like that, our frustrations, not understanding our countertransference or transferences showing up in the room, that sort of thing. So when it comes to making documentation less cringeworthy, it's understanding the purpose, making it beneficial for you and the client, having processes that make it easy, templates and tools that can make it easy. And then really taking some time to find your voice. I think this is a big thing for me. Maybe you guys will, you all, excuse me, I'm trying to not say that, you all will agree or not. But I feel like I was given a language, and the language wasn't very kind. It's very disordered, and I had to fit into this way of being in order to appease, people getting reimbursed. And when you are in private practice and you are not taking insurance and those kinds of things, it does allow you freedom to find your own voice in the way you discuss working with clients, so that we are no longer using oppressive language. And that is an ongoing process. This is like an onion, and it gets stinkier the layers you take off. Just learning about the way we were taught to talk about people and their emotions and relationships, undoing some of those old ways. We've got to be the leaders in the forefront to change this. And our documentation is reflective of that language. So I think it's an opportunity to break the mold, to do better for our clients and ourselves. And maybe when we start to see documentation as something that actually makes a difference in the lives of our clients, that it's actually something we can stand beside and say, no, this is a beautiful narrative. We were writing a book together almost, with our clients. We're rewriting your story. And if we handed them their notes, they could see the story ebb and flow and the transformation take place. What a beautiful shift to having that happen when it comes to documentation, instead of it being a soap note of issue, problem, appearance. Hey, mental status exams, great for quick observance. I get it. But at the end of the day, what's going to be the change for us in our practices? That's the whole reason why we went into our private practices, so we could have some controls, so that we could do things the way that is aligned with our values. And I want that for you. So this documentation training, while it's not primarily anti-oppressive writing and things like that, it is talking frankly about the system and deciding, is this a system that you want to play with in order for your clients to get reimbursed? And how can we still make it meaningful and helpful to the client and to us, instead of it just being one of those things that we have to do and check off? I don't know about you, but I can't even remember what show I watched yesterday. For some reason, though, as a clinician, have you found this, that you can remember every single detail of your client's life, but you can't remember what you had for breakfast? It's like your brain can only hold so much memory, and it holds the memory of all these clients instead of your own life in some way. Anywho, that's why notes are helpful, because we do miss things. How I feel immediately after a session with a client is going to shift when they come in the next time. I'm going to it's nice to kind of revisit and tell that story beautifully. So we'd love to have you at the training. It's free. It's 90 minutes. It is longer than an hour because it's a 1.5 CE. And that includes social workers this time around with clearly clinical. If you struggle with doing notes, just want you to know you're not alone. And I want you to know that we can still continue to work to find a way for you to do these notes efficiently and in a way that benefits. It's good. Because if we have to do something that we find to be ridiculous, might as well make it helpful, instead of resenting it, putting it off and letting it be a burden, and the feeling of like, oh, I got all these notes to do. Want that to go away for you. So we'd love to have you at the training. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If you like this, share, invite a friend. It always helps to have a friend who knows what you're going through. Attend the training together, get your CE, and learn a few tricks to getting these notes done. All right, we'll see you next time. Take care.